Hello. Yes.
It's that weird bald man again, Mom.
Sorry about that. Your mom loves me. Go back to bed. Okay. Hi, everyone. It is DG360. We are going to watch some Inside Star Citizen right now, and I'm very happy we have content. This is something that we've had less of this year. I think, like I've discussed why. I've talked to people why they are less transparent. If you're not watching, then you don't know. If you are watching, you do know the answer to that. Good job. You're paying attention to the show and myself, as everyone should. I've been in this project since I think 2014. I have been covering it on my YouTube channel since then, and I do it because this is the only attempt at trying to make a game at this scale out there right now. There is no competitor. For its good, for its bad, there is no one out there doing this work for gamers. All right? You might get upset. You might get mad at them. You might say, hey, there's no progress, when a lot of people are having a ton of fun in 4.3, by the way. I think that's a three-letter word we cannot say anymore. But fun, you know, there's a lot of problems, everybody. But there are so many problems in the world out there today. Do not drag the world into what's supposed to be a fun thing to get us to escape, okay? Yes, we need to understand what's happening in the project. Yes, we stay critical. It's not all, it's not all fun, okay? But just try and remember this is a game, and this is the only thing out there that is attempting to do this on this scale. Thank you.
You're here. I'm here. We got one take. Let's talk about the elevator in the room. Now, up until this point, freight elevators were mostly used in single-player, short-term environments like personal hangars.
Speaking of no fun, 4.2.1, big stinker. I've had a lot of comments when we were talking about 4.2.1, when I asked everyone on the last show, what do you think they did this for? Did they drop the ball? Did they fumble it? Did they just not realize, hey, the most important mechanic, which is the elevator, that is directly linked to server tech, this is maybe not a good patch to bring out because, we need these elevators to operate? That was choice number one. Did they fumble it? Did they just go, oops, yep, we forgot that mechanic was super important and we're having issues with server tech and this relies on it. Whoops, we forgot all about that. Or is it maybe more realistic as game devs that they are trying to push the server tech to its limits, which was number two? So you guys, I'm just merely speculating here. I'm on the fence. Honestly, I'm on the fence with that one. I'm not quite sure. I've seen some fumbles in my past before. I don't know if this was a fumble, or it seems to me I kind of want to lean towards their testing server capabilities with the most important mechanic dependent upon server tech. That's why they're doing it. I could be wrong, but that's just me speculating.
Usually only be one user, and on the back end it would be stowed when you left and a fresh new freight elevator presented every single time you went back in. Now, while certainly not perfect, these tended to operate better than the ones out in the wilderness at, say, outposts, which, like many other things in the verse, tended to compound their issues over time the longer they were left to run. Now, of all the known issues with all the freight elevators in the game, most tend to revolve around simple things like it just doesn't work, and bigger problems like all my items have vanished and they're now lost forever, which itself can often tie into other issues with things like
that's why, like, when they're telling us about persistence, that's the goal. That isn't necessarily always happening 24/7 inside of Star Citizen. We've come a long way in terms of that tech, right? But we're still having issues with it, right? But again, there has been progress with that.
Term persistence, which we're gonna have an SCL on with Benoit soon to discuss some new.
Oh shit. I'm super excited now. I'm super excited. Okay. I've been waiting to hear these words for 8 months and 14 days. Okay. 8 months and 14 days, I've been talking about this, that Benoit showed up, said we're going back to first principles. We're going to shove it back in first gear, right? We're going to focus on things that matter. And I haven't heard a peep since. You guys know how upset I've been at the crickets. The crickets out there. When I talk about this, I get really upset. Blood rushes to my head. I may turn a shade of red that will scare you. I am so happy to hear that Benoit is going to be an episode. We're going to be talking about what we should have been talking about this entire year.
Developments there. So if it's okay with you, we're going to stick to freight elevators for the time being. Now at this point,
well, yeah, poor Ben. Stunner says, poor Benoit, always pushing him forward, saying, you handle it, Benoit. Yeah, that's rough. That's a rough spot, Stunner. You're absolutely right about that. Right? He's kind of like the star of the show. He's the new Tony Z. Like, Benoit has become the new Tony Z. Tony, where are you, Tony? Tony? So we're going to see what Benoit has to say, and there's a lot of pressure. And on the human level, yeah, I feel completely like, oh, shit, Stunner, like you, like, oh, shit, poor Benoit got to get up in front of like an angry mob with pitchforks and fucking torches once again. 7th, 8th, 100th time around. So many waves of it, and that's why they have been less transparent. But that is not the only reason. The big reason is why. Because they're almost at a billy. They're almost at a billy now. We're not in the millies anymore. We're in the billies. We're getting towards the billies. And continue.
Not really telling you anything that most active players don't already know. But it's important to note that these issues have been egregious enough that we'd already started a directed repair initiative months ago. It's just not completed yet. Obviously. Maybe super obviously.
Okay, there is actual, look at the facial gestures, right? At first I was like, man, this is so goddamn, of course it's scripted, but like the way he's reading this, it's coming off like, you know, fake, like, but underneath it all, underneath like the acting for the show to be like professional, you can tell he is fucking sick and tired of that. Is a man with a face who says, I am so sick and tired of this shit on both ends, from fans and Cloud Imperium. Like Jared is the dude, like literally in the fuck you sandwich. Literally, Jared is in the middle of the fuck you sandwich.
As with transit, when working these issues, we try really hard to avoid what are known as hack fixes and focus instead on trying to uncover what is ultimately the root cause that will create all this instability underneath. And that process can often seem like absolutely nothing is happening for days or even weeks at a time.
Or even years. Some people have said, unbelievably so, there was literally no progress happening in 2023, which I told people, no, that's not true. There has been. And then we reaped what we sowed in 2024. We had, I think, one of the best years ever, one of the best content explosions absolutely ever going into 25. You know, people, I think, are getting a little bit entitled, man. Like, I can tell you, following this for as long as I have, within the past 2 years, there's been so much content explosion and progress happening here. Yeah, it's got its bugs, but like comparatively speaking, from where we came from, I think people are just getting a little bit too entitled, and they want those clicks, and they want those clacks, and they want that monetization, right?
So last month, what happened with Race for Stanton?
What's up, Grizz?
Well, sometimes changing how we use old features can be just as painful as adding a bunch of new ones. With a higher concurrency in daily active users than any patch this year, large numbers of players were driven from their private freight elevators and their personal hangars to the more troublesome ones out in the PU. Statistically rare states became common, and less common issues became fertilized and grew into bigger, unavoidable ones. Although in many cases, this still took hundreds or even thousands of players using each freight elevator to manifest a single issue. Now, like with transit before it, or the infamous 30K issues of old, who remembers those? The issues you encounter in the PU are not always due to one or two bugs, but often dozens and dozens of underlying conditions beneath and around it, which throwing thousands...
It's the architecture underneath, to which some people say that people who have worked on the project in the very early days, there's still code from there. built on top of that. And those people, for one reason or another, it has been 13 years or so, cannot be gotten in touch with anymore. And they're building new architecture on old architecture, right? The coding gets messy, yo. Coding gets really, really messy, man.
And thousands of players at have helped us address more successfully than ever before. And since the release of Alpha 4.2.1 and up until the recording of this video, we've identified the root causes of 44 individual freight elevator issues, with 20 of them being classified as blockers or critical, and almost all of them with causes only revealed by running thousands of people into them over and over and over again throughout this event. Now, in a phrase that should be very familiar to our software engineer enthusiasts out there, as we work to fix each issue we encountered, the resolution would often reveal another lying in wait underneath. But this is a good thing, yeah? We did all this intentionally to force progress so we can...
They're saying it's intentional. You see, your choices were, did they fumble Ruski? Did they just say, oh, whoops, yep, this mechanic relies on server tech heavily and we forgot about it? Or is it more likely that they did it intentionally? And I'm still on the fence. I still can't give you the answer, even though they professionally put down here by Jared that this was meant. Like, that this was actually meant, right? To me, makes sense that they're going to push it, professionally speaking, but I've seen them do unprofessional things, right? And that's just constructive criticism, and that happens with every corporation. Not trying to throw shade on Cloud Imperium, but that's just part of the fun of corpo life. And they're getting big now. I mean, this is almost a Billy, guys. We're not dealing with millies anymore. We're almost at the Billy mark on a fan-funded game. Like, notice the whole vibe compared to what it used to be, right? There is a lot of progress happening with this game. We're hitting a whole nother level in terms of the actual business, actually. Like, if you were to look under the hood of Cloud Imperium, I bet there's a lot of things changing right now, especially transitioning into Squadron 42. Like, you got to imagine, all the people working specifically solely on Squadron 42 are wondering, now that we're getting towards the end here, if they're going to be reintegrated into work that's going to happen on the PU, or they're going to wait for the numbers to see how the return on investment is from Squadron 42, and then where they're going to take that revenue, that big chunk, they're going to get that ROI on the expenditures with all the actors, and God only knows. I'm sure it costs a sweet pretty penny for them. After they wrap nip tuck all the expenses and see if they've made a profit on it, if they'll turn it into the next chapter or not. And then, boom, employ everybody that they worked on Squadron 42 again, right? I think there's going to be an interim and a transition phase. It's going to be a little bit messy inside. They're getting bigger. They're more mature as a company. They're becoming, they're getting out of the minors and going into, the majors here. And they're trying to adjust from the minors to the majors. They're going into Billy Land. Okay, Billy Land. None of them ever been there. Imagine you have a dream over 10 years ago that you want to do this, make a game on this scale, and then it gets to almost the Billy mark. I mean, that's kind of an accomplishment. That's kind of trend setting, pioneering for game development funding. We all remember, the OGs remember how this started. It looked like it was coming out of a garage when it first started, right? And then it looked like it come out of a work officer environment. And then it started getting more and more and more professional around it. We're almost at the Billy mark, people. I mean, it's weak numbers. Grizz says, well, that's weak numbers, though, the Billy mark on a game developing. Yeah, if you're comparing to the big AAAs, right, Grizz? Absolutely. But if you're talking about the fact that they're pulling in a Billy from the fans directly, then I think we got a different conversation, right, Grizz? It's nobody's really successfully brought in this kind of money ever in this format for game development funding ever. There's not been any other game out there that's solely funded by its fans that have brought in almost a Billy. Yeah, they're only rolling now. I mean, the revenues are actually starting to roll, though, right, Grizz? I mean, you're starting to see major growth in the revenue numbers. It's kind of crazy to see that. It just looks like a giant curve from the bottom left to the upper right. It is literally crazy seeing those numbers. To know that we're probably going to break the record for revenues and break last year's record, I mean, that's pretty big. That's pretty big.
Finally fixed freight elevators like we did 30K and are still doing with transit.
Yeah.
No.
Right, Coop.
Now, while the project will definitely benefit from what happened long term with all the fixes and hardening that's been going in and that will continue to go in throughout Alpha 4.3 and beyond, the answer to what really happened isn't particularly exciting or salacious or any different than what I imagine most of you already suspected. We knew there'd be issues like there have been, but we underestimated how they'd compound on top of one another at higher stresses.
Alpha. This is why all content creators go back to this and why they're both frustrated and use this term alpha, because it's where we're at. And it's kind of crazy to think that we're all still here. And goddamn, it's one of the most frustrating things to say that after this long, but damn if it's not true. And then you get into a myriad of talking points about why are we still here? Is this the crew? Is this the developers? The leadership, the management, and frankly, I think it's the scale. Like, this is why I signed up. When I saw the Imagine video, and I was playing nothing but Elite Dangerous like all day, every day. Star Citizen, watching that Imagine video, ooh man. That really sucked me in. And I was like, I want a game with like unlimited scale. Like, I just want this thing to be so goddamn huge when I log in and realistic. And I want to fly in a ship and get out of the ship. And I want weather. And I want, all these things that your imagination just starts to think. And you're like, oh my God, like I want infinite scale, right? I knew at that point that this was going to be a long project. Did I think it was going to go this long? Absolutely not. But I don't think I even then, like I understood the scale, but I didn't truly grasp it like I understand the scale now, what this game wants to be. I think the reason it's taking this long and the reason why we say this is an alpha is because of the scale. Like there's not, like again, the way I started the show, there is nothing else out there that is trying to do this. Imagine the dedication on the other side of the camera here, and when you're looking at Jared, to show up and do this every fucking day when everybody's mad and has pitchforks and torches. Like, imagine that frustration. Try and be a human being and be on the other side of this shit for once. So many people, they're just like, like a lot of Star Citizen content creators, next problem, next, right? Throwing poo, throwing like shit. Some deserved, okay? But like, imagine being on the other side of that, like, all day, every day. Be Jared for a second. Like, what Star Citizen content creator is going to tell you to be Jared for a second? Like, just do it. Imagine you're Jared for a day. Okay? Like, and you're dealing with both sides of shit and you're in the middle of the fuck you sandwich. It would not be anything. I mean, like, dude, you better pay me a shit ton to be Jared. You know what I mean? Like, hell no, man.
It's been a sometimes frustrating process for everyone on both sides of the project.
Heart attack.
But at the same time, we're super proud of the content and cadence we've achieved this year, and of the strides all of our teams are making to make this the most compelling year of Star Citizen gameplay yet.
This diatribe here he's getting into, I understand. It's the same fucking thing I say all the time, that people think I'm a white knight for when I get into this. In order to make something impossible possible, you have to dream. What Jared is trying to say is this, and why it kind of sounds sales pitchy, or why it kind of gets old after a while, and people are like, well, just release it already because they don't understand the scope, is you have to tell them about the dream. You've got to remind people about the imagination and how you got to this point. You got to start with the origin point of why you signed up for Star Citizen. It's what nobody says. It's the big elephant in the room. Like, You might be like everybody that's creating content, still playing the game. Those people that are upset have come back, got upset and left and come back, or just completely left. Or the Star System content creators have been covering this as long as I have, right? You have to go back to the origin point on why you started this journey. And it was the dream. It's a dream to make a game that has a scale that's infinite. As a gamer, to log into an MMO and have a really cool experience that's an infinitely huge scale, it is the absolute dream of most gamers. I would say put a 1 if you agree with me. I'm putting the 1 down myself right now. I mean, I've always wanted that as a gamer. My big thing is I've always wanted an MMO I could just get away, and especially you tell me it's going to be sci-fi too. Oh, hell yeah, sign me up for that shit right now, right? That's what people don't do. When you get so frustrated, you got to remember why you're frustrated. Because when you're dreaming, right? People call you a dreamer. They say the dream's never going to become a reality. They tell you over and over again, here are all the reasons why you're not going to make it. Here are all the reasons why your dream is impossible. They're going to keep telling you that, right? And you know what? They might be right. They might be right. And most of us are adult enough to understand that might be the reality. It would suck if that happened. Because I want this game to be infinite. I want this game to be exactly as I imagined it. Will I get exactly? Probably not, but I want as close as I can get. And I feel like there's nobody else out there doing this. And that's why Jared and I think Jared and myself, there's others out there, but like you gotta focus people on, like, we're here because we're dreamers. But I'm not the only one. Sorry, John.
For every single step backwards, I truly believe we're taking multiple strides forward. And the overall improvements to the experience along the way are what keep many of us motivated to continue going month after month.
Yep.
And with this new Onyx Facilities content drop being spread out over multiple releases, we're going to continue taking the time to improve existing experiences along the way. And to that end, as some of you probably have already heard, it was in the loading screen and whatnot, we're also going to go ahead and extend the Race for Stanton missions while we continue to work on freight elevators throughout Alpha 4.3. It'll mean another month for folks to try to dethrone Hurston from the lead they hit so very early.
I gotta say this. No, I'm over it. I'm gonna tell you right now, they already fucked up. I mean, I get it. You guys want to test it, but no, thank you. You know, this is the part where I say no. And it's like, I tried, elevators weren't working, boxes weren't working from server to server. It was like a complete flop for me. My experience was 1. Like as far as patches go and doing something in the patch that they've geared towards you, it was not a good experience for me. But you know what? A lot of people had good experiences out there, but not a lot of it in our community, actually. Like it was just not a good patch. But I'm hearing good things about 4.3. Yeah, it was an absolute train wreck, right, Daft? It was so bad.
For you to earn any of the individual rewards that are still outstanding.
What's up, Seraph?
And for us to continue beating on freight elevators about the head and neck with the proverbial pipe along the way.
Oh, shit.
And all while you continue.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Grizz. Grizz in the house. Grizz in the house. There is a Grizz in the house. Thank you, bro. So is this like a fireside chat without the fire? Is this Jared just like sitting down in the back office, like just having a one-on-one with us? Is this whole video like this?
Your
Like
exploration of ASD's latest malpractices. And speaking of which, we've also made the
back up 10 seconds, says Fingers. I'll meet you. I'll meet you there. Backing up 10 seconds for Fingers.
And all while you continue your exploration of ASD's latest malpractices. And speaking of which,
that's what you wanted.
We've also made the decision to keep relatively quiet on Onyx Facilities and ISC and beyond. We do this to better let you investigate and discover things for yourself. But that doesn't mean there isn't more that August has to offer. So let's go ahead and use our remaining time this week to explore the other aspects of this new release in Patch Report Alpha 4.3.
Dude, we just saw dynamic snow
For several
when we
years
started the stream
now,
tonight.
we've had these ground storms.
Hell yeah, Grizz. Hell yeah, Grizz. Value-added gameplay overload, bro. Thank you, Grizz in the house. Grizzy.
With rain and snow and whatnot, and those are sticking around for a while yet. But in Alpha 4.2, we continue to get our feet wet with the first iteration of dynamic rain. And now, 2 months later, in this release, we're continuing our climate campaign with the nascent version of dynamic snow, which leverages the same system to sleet the skies wherever the surrounding situation is sound. Sorry. It's a small thing to let us avoid rain falling on snowy areas, but these incipient iterations will continue to develop both in gameplay and in its sights and sounds over subsequent releases. And meanwhile, in things you can wear and hold, almost every patch this year has had a new armor and weapon to discover. And in August, you'll find the new Specialist Light Stealth Armor. There are a few different variations floating around, including a neat ASD one, and this one from Wicklow.
Also, Mr. Kraken, if you want a really good tutorial, I tried this a few days ago. I went to Mr. Kraken. Shout out to Mr. Kraken, has a wonderful tutorial on how to get that armor. And man, he did it in like no time flat, like straight to the point tutorials. Love Kraken.
It's an interesting visor, but it does beg the question, with the blast shield down, how can I even see? How am I supposed to fight? To which the answer is, I probably shouldn't quote Star Wars, because Disney has lawyers. We've also got a new Volt weapon this month called the Zenith Sniper Rifle that, and let me read this text I have on the screen here from Zach, combines the raw punch of a charged sniper shot with the rapid fire precision of a marksman rifle. Which doesn't sound OP as heck at all, Zach. Now, there are some notes here about how loud it'll be and how important managing heat is, because if you don't, it becomes essentially inoperable, like me. And it's the latest in this year's line of Volt weapons, and like all the others before it, you can be the—
Dude, I gotta give it to the people that are in the weapon design area, man. Like the people designing these weapons. I mean, this is exactly the aesthetics that I imagined from Volt. You know, I'm telling you what, the weapon design crew is really on point.
To judge if its advantages are worth the trade-offs. Also, hangar respawning returns. Now, it's a small thing, but the ability to spawn directly into your personal hangar and get back into the fray should be a welcome one for any—
I mean, it's kind of crazy that the weapon would hum when it charges, and it's a sniper rifle, so that's kind of funny, though, reading the chat right now. What's up, Grizz? Yeah! Keeping me alive. Thank you so much, Grizz. I love you, bro. Thank you. Keeping me alive. He's sustaining me.
When let's play the game for a while. Personal hangars are slowly becoming our first true homes in the verse, and this is yet another step in the right direction. Also another step in the right direction, spawning ground vehicles from the freight elevators.
There we go.
Which is not coming in Alpha 4.3, but I've got a platform and I'm gonna use it to say everybody wants it, Benoit, and we're gonna find time to prioritize it for the schedule. After more fixes in the next couple months first.
Right.
Let's move on to virtual—
We'll have it in 2 years.
currencies. Now this year we introduced Wicklow, the collector, and his emporium of esoteric effects. Not the actual name. And over the last couple months, we've seen vehicles new and old get added to his inventory as variants with unique paints and components. And that's great. Or at least it was once we killed the RNG thing. Yay! But what about the various ship shops in the verse? Where's my Golem, the Fortune, the Guardians? Well, in Alpha 4.3, inventories are getting updated with many of the most recent ships that have been released. What this means is, while you can still pledge for ships to support the continuing development of Star Citizen, and you can still work for those fancy component variants of many with Wicklow, you should also be able to pursue the base versions of newer vehicles for AUEC. and in a more reasonable timetable from now on.
Okay.
It's our way of saying, yeah, we'll be better at this going forward. It was Tyler Wickens' fault. And while we're talking about spaceships, starting back in May and continuing with each monthly patch after that, the Vehicle Experience team began the next wave of flight tuning adjustments for every ship in the verse, hitting most of the heavy and medium fighters and interceptor subclasses within. Now with Alpha 4.3, it's time for some light fighters to get their pass. This includes adjusting SCM and nav speeds to increase variation within the class, altering the linear and angular accelerations, adjusting health pools, and even swapping out some flight controller components. Now there's a whole list with details in the patch notes, but if you haven't flown your light fighter in a while, maybe give it a go this patch. And while we're talking about light fighters, what would a patch in 2025 be without brand new vehicles? And for August, we've got the long-awaited debut of the L-21 Wolf. It's sleek, it's slick, it's kind of like a cool spaceship Rorschach test. See, some people see a fancy hot rod, some people see a Supermarine Spitfire, and some people like me see a Naboo Starfighter.
Yeah, that's a Naboo Starfighter.
But it's not.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
Disney. It's the newest light fighter from Kruger Intergalactic, a brand previously known for the Merlin and Archimedes, two ships who share the same names as characters in an old animated film about King Arthur from... Now you can learn more about it in our dedicated Behind the Ships episode, also available on YouTube, and the L-21 Wolf will be flyable as soon as Alpha 4.3 releases. And lastly, let's go ahead and touch on this month's big content drop, the new Onyx facilities. Now this is a big swing from our environment, level design, mission, sound, and every other team that's worked on them. And that's why I'm not going to say a whole lot. Everyone here really wants you to just get in there and experience them for yourselves. And don't forget, this is our first multi-part release of the year. So we'll open up that third and final wing eventually, and you'll...
Dude, I have to say they did a great. Elliot and the crew did a wonderful design, wonderful level design. Like, you know, there's the stability obviously is always an issue. NPC is always an issue in all these places, right? But for the most part, when I'm playing or testing myself, one or the other, which is usually happening at the same time, I will tell you that I am like looking around and I'm actually very, very happy by all the level design work that I've been seeing lately. They've been doing a wonderful job, and knowing to see that this is like seated in multiple places, it makes me feel good moving in the future, knowing that they're going to create like pretty amazing places. Like all these sets are like absolutely fantastic.
Find out what Dr. Yor and ASD has really been up to.
What's up, Wooksy?
It's more than just worm torture. I can promise you that. Ultimately, this month, like this year, will continue to see Star Citizen pushing its development into lots of new directions. And, quite frankly, some are going to work better than others. Some are going to take us a bit to figure out. And some are going to be some of the best and most interesting content we've ever released.
Yep.
Align Mine, Stormbreaker, Onyx facilities. I just want to shout out all the work everyone on Dev is doing to keep this year interesting and to continue improving the existing gameplay systems along the way.
And bringing in fresh blood, people who've never even heard of the game before. You know, the more they do this and they bring in these types of events, whether people like them or hate them, it's going to be a huge revenue driver, period. It has brought in a lot of fresh blood that will continually be a citizen for a very, very long time, which is exactly what they need to keep sustaining them at the Billy level. They are now at the Billy level. They were at the Millie level. Now they're at the Billy level. They need to do this.
And then, of course, the continued engagement with the project from you, who are coming back month after month in record numbers to see where we're going next. And finally, if you are wondering why I'm at my desk, where I spend most of my day doing my other job behind the scenes that has little to do with ISC or SCL, there's this little thing called CitizenCon Direct coming up on October 11th.
All right.
And the spaceship is currently locked down for the next 8
October
weeks
11th.
filming for that.
Okay.
So be sure you check out the latest post on the Bar Citizen Global Watch Parties.
Listen, we're going to do it this year. Like I've done every year. We will have CitizenCon here. Don't you miss it. I've had it every single year since I've covered this project. I don't think I've skipped any year. Always streamed both days. I don't know if they're doing 2 days now or just 1 day because it's direct and they're not having an event, a live one. But like we are doing it here. We will have a fun day together. It is possibly one of my favorite stream days ever to chill out with you for 8+ hours and then do it again. I'm only hoping that there's actually 2 days. Thank you. I love CitizenCon with you guys. Thank you, Orson.
To find out where you can join our staff to watch it as it unfolds. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for listening to me yak about freight elevators for 5 minutes. And I was going to do a joke here at the end where I pretend to...
Holy shit. That was the best alert ever. Jared had Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh my God, Jared. That's the best. Wooksy. Greatest timing ever on alert, possibly ever in the 10 years I've streamed, dude. That was amazing.
Push a button and the elevator takes me down beneath my desk. But considering the work that we still have ahead of us in fixing them proper, it would probably go a little something like this. I'll just say we know what's left to do and we're on it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Damn, that was like a major peace out. He's like, listen, we know what the fuck we're doing. We've been doing this for 10+ years. All right, peace out, bitches. I'm going to cut myself out of this and get back to work. Like, he was just like, hey, man, I'm a Billy mode. You see what I was saying last week? You get what I'm trying to say, everybody? They are at a different stage of the game. They're going from the minors to the majors. They're at the Billy game, right? They don't have to be transparent. Translation, they don't have to be transparent anymore. They don't. Thank you. Oh, shit, Grizz. Oh, shit, Grizz. What? You just went banana. Holy shit. Grizz went total banana mode. We're ending on that note.